for many years, now less, but for many years when I was talking about communication, persuasion, storytelling, case acceptance, I would say the word marketing, and I could see in the crowd uncomfort, right? And when I would say selling dentistry, even worse, some people would even walk away and just leave.
And today we're going to be talking about the clock principle. It's a powerful business marketing idea and how it translates to dentistry.
So, yeah, the clock concept is something that I learned from very, very smart business and marketing people. And we were able to adapt and translate this into dentistry, and it just works.
Yeah. So let's talk about, first of all, what is it and why is it important? Let's start there.
The definition of this concept is pretty obvious. It says that every company should focus on 3 moments of their client experience to grow and to sell more, right? 3 moments. So they call the 3 moments as pre-purchase, purchase, and post-purchase. As I said, pretty obvious. So it means that a company to succeed needs to have a good pre-purchase strategy, meaning conventional marketing, spreading the word, telling the world what you do, right? And hoping that people like the message. So that is the pre-purchase. Then comes the purchase moment, where some of these people that are listening to your story are actually saying, oh, maybe, perhaps, or they're just walking by your store and they just decide, consciously or unconsciously linked to the pre-purchase story, people just decide to walk in and check you out, right?
Right.
Maybe try your product, maybe do a test drive, maybe compare, talk to your salespeople or your experts, and everything that involves that moment of decision making. So that is the purchase moment. And then you have the third moment, that is the post-purchase, obviously, for the ones that actually buy your product or buy your service. Then they're going to experience your product or your service, and that's called the post-purchase moment. So it's called clock concept because they draw a circle like a clock and they divide the circle into 3. So you have pre-purchase, purchase, and post-purchase. Also, obviously, ideal world, your company, your practice should master all 3 moments. So you need to have very good strategies to spread the word out there. You need to have very good strategies to convert people, and you have to have very good strategies to please people after they are ready with you, after they already paid you and they are then experience what you do.
Right. And so I'll play devil's advocate here because our entire industry is built on this. If I'm a dentist listening, Christian, it's very sexy, very attractive for me to take all of this education to learn how to deliver great treatment. And that is important. And so that probably puts me in the third part of this process, which is the delivery. And so I spend so much of my career there and I miss the other 2. Is that correct?
So that, of course, that in dentistry, we as dentists, we were never into marketing naturally and sales, actually, for many years, now less, but for many years when I was talking about communication, persuasion, storytelling, case acceptance, I would say the word marketing, and I could see in the crowd uncomfort, right? And when I would say selling dentistry, even worse, some people would even walk away and just leave, right? We don't sell. We are in the medical environment. We are healthcare providers. And I actually looked on a dictionary, the meaning of the word selling, and basically is exchanging services for money. So yes, we dentists, we sell every single day. We have to sell. But of course, we want to sell with ethics. We want to sell in an elegant way. And above all, we want to sell something that we know is the best for the patient. so we are comfortable selling that, right? But we are selling. Because of this uncomfort, of course, that we are always biased towards the post-purchase, meaning being a great dentist. And for many decades, since my whole family is in dentistry, my father, my grandfather, my great-grandfather, my great-great-grandfather, my great-great-great-grandfather, kind of you see the evolution of the relationship between the dentist and the patient. And for many decades, life was very simple for a dentist. The rule was like this: be a good dentist and you're gonna have good money. That's it. That was the life. Nowadays, we know that life is much more complex. Life, when I say life, the life of somebody that owns a practice. There's so many factors that goes beyond just delivering good dentistry. So yes, the first problem here is that we as dentists, we learn how to do good dentistry. So we are taking care of 1/3 of the clock concept, right?
Yeah.
And it's the problem is that we are taking very good care of the last third of the clock. It means that we can only work on the last third if we did well on the first and the second third, because if we don't do good on the first and the second, people will not even give us the chance to show them how good we are on the third.
Yeah.
So that's why we need to focus, on all of the three.
Yeah.
But that's also obvious, right?
Right. Right. Now, I want you, before we hit the go button, you were describing, we're going to step out of dentistry and then we'll come back to dentistry. But one of these is the most important. It's the real deal. Which one of these third is the real deal?
So this was for me the aha moment, right? About the clock concept and the link to dentistry and how to apply this into dentistry. So what is the story outside dentistry? Okay. So as I was reading this article about the clock concept, they explained pre-purchase, purchase, post-purchase. And then they mentioned that companies that are more successful are biased towards the second and the third part of the clock. So purchase and post-purchase. And they use the example of Apple. Okay. So what they say is that, again, pre-purchase is conventional marketing, or any type of marketing is pre-purchase. Purchase is the experience at your store. And post-purchase is the experience with your service and product. What they showed is that companies that are actually putting their major focus on the purchase moment are the ones that are really finding the magical formula. Of course, that if you have a poor product, a horrible service, this is not sustainable. But if you want to grow, the shortcut is to invest on your purchase moment. And they used a very simple example, the Apple Store. So for some reason, I can only guess, 20 years ago, Steve Jobs discussing with his team, blah, 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 the marketing budget and strategy. For some reason, Steve Jobs decided that instead of doing what every company was doing at that time, that is investing on marketing to grow conversion, he decided to take most of his marketing budget and invest on the purchase moment. And that's when the Apple Store concept was created. And we can recognize this, right, on the old days of Apple. And I'm talking about the 2000s, right? 2010, when they really exploded. They did very little conventional marketing. So if we compare with Samsung, the competitor, Samsung was doing the conventional way, marketing, billboards, radio, TV, beautiful ads, blah, 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 the whole thing. And Apple took their money and they say, look, we're going to invest in this new concept called Apple Store that is going to be revolutionary in terms of experiencing the products in the store. And because of that, we believe we can transform clients into fans. And because of that, we're going to grow more than the others. And because of that, we're going to create a community of people that love us beyond the product. And because of that, we're going to generate loyalty. And because of that, we're going to become the #1 company in the world.
Right. I want to share one piece of data. This is pretty cool.
Yeah.
According to industry research, Apple has the highest sales per square foot with an average in all of their stores of $6,050 per square foot annually.
That's the proof of the concept.
Right. It's crazy.
So,
Now,
yeah,
one more, let me throw one more thing at
yeah,
you because I
please.
love this. I love data. Apple has more cash on hand than the United States government does. So they know a few things, don't they?
Yes. If they said so, we should listen, right?
Right.
So what does that mean? That, of course, Apple has a great product, several great products. Of course, that Apple is now doing some conventional marketing, but the revolution started with the Apple Store. And I still remember when they started with this Apple Store thing. First, in Brazil, I was living in Brazil at that time. We didn't have Apple Store. And, you know, everybody that could travel to US, I can guarantee to you, the huge number of people coming, they were like, I want to visit the Apple Store. I remember myself going to New York, and one of my main things was to go to the Fifth Avenue Apple Store, you know, the whole glass box that they had there. Amazing, right? How many times you walked into an Apple Store, even when you didn't need an Apple product, you know, just
All the
because you
time.
were walking by, you know?
Right.
This is the power of exceeding expectations and fascinating you on the purchase moment. It's not the ad, it's not the billboard, it's not the conventional marketing, is your experience in that store. And there's so many things that they did. And nowadays we take it for granted because it became normal and because every other company started to try to copy, right? So, you know, all other businesses and now Samsung has their store. But of course, you know, there's no first mover advantage and it's not as sexy and the whole thing, everybody's just trying to copy that. But for me, you know, the first message here is that you have 3 moments that you need to master. The shortcut to success is the purchase moment. And the success story that proves this concept is the Apple Store that made us all, you know, fans of this brand and of their product, even regardless if their product is the best in the market. The iPhone is not the best phone. And people that are experts on technology, they try to convince me to move from iPhone to Samsung. Good luck with that. You know, there's something stronger that connects me to Apple. And I can tell you, it started in the Apple Store experience year after year, you know, making me a fan. So it shows that, of course, having a great product is key. But when you invest on your purchase moment, it's like you gain so many credits with your possible client that your product can even be slightly worse or equal to others. And you're going to have a competitive advantage above all of the people around you.
So go back to that. So I'm a dentist listening. Christian, explain the purchase third of the clock for me. What is exactly that from your perspective?
So in general, in business or in dentistry, translate into dentistry?
Translated into dentistry. How does that relate to my dental? I'm probably listening to this podcast on my way to my dental practice.
Yep.
Which third of that am I going to see when I walk through the door of my practice?
So now let's translate this to dentistry. It's pretty obvious as well. That's the beauty. It's so simple, so obvious, right? In dentistry, you also need to go through 3 moments, right? You need to attract people, you need to convert people, and you need to treat people. As you said, dentists are obviously focused on treating. And we should, you know, that's what we do. We need to be very good clinicians. Okay. But then since 10, 20 years, dentistry started to go heavy into marketing. And you see dentists spending a lot of money into marketing. So that is pre-purchase, right? And
Right.
we are forgetting that actually the magic is on the purchase moment. It means that in dentistry, we are leaving the magic moment in third place. We are putting the least energy where the magic happens the most. And if we translate the clock concept, the purchase moment, into dentistry, we are talking about the first and the second appointment, period. So what I'm telling you is very, very simple. If you want a shortcut to grow, there's so many things you can do. Yes, you can become an even better dentist. Yes. Yes, you can grow. You can buy new technology. Yes. Yes, you can improve your associate. Yes, you can train better your assistant. Yes, you can follow up better your treatments. You can have a better orthodontist, a better periodontist. Yes. Yes, you can also invest more in marketing, lead generation. You can hire a better agency. You can improve your social media. Yes, 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 and yes. But if you really want the shortcut to grow immediately, more than anything else, you need to invest on your first and second appointment, period.
Yeah. You and I were joking, but it's not a joke. You said you could actually be really good at the first and second appointment and screw up. Now, we don't want to screw up and do really well. To explain that.
It means that my iPhone can be worse than the Samsung, or can have a worse screen or camera, or can break earlier than the Samsung. But Apple got so many emotional credits with me in the Apple Store experience that I'm still a fan, and I will assimilate, I will absorb this problem, and I will stay with the company, stay with the brand, right? I will give a second chance and a third chance and so on. It means that if I would change to Samsung today, for any reason, if somebody would force me or convince me, and for any technicality, I would have a Samsung. Samsung would have one little mistake and I would change back to Apple, right? So this
Right.
is what I call emotional credits. So what I'm saying is that if you master the process of first and second appointment, you're going to gain so many emotional credits that even if you make mistakes later on, you're going to be able to take advantage of these credits, right?
Right.
You can leverage these credits. That's how the human brain works. So the whole question is what it means to master your first and second appointment, right?
Okay. Go further on that, because that's a discussion by itself. What happened? Everybody has their own definition of what a first and second appointment. Here in the US, it's okay. You could have a 30-minute discussion on what is it hygiene? Is it with somebody else? What does a first and second appointment look like to you?
So the first point here for the listeners is you need to agree with us here. You need to agree, you need to say, okay, it makes sense. It needs to make sense. If it makes sense, and we have the most important success story in business on the last 50 years of business history with Apple Store, as you said, Apple has more money than the US government, more cash than, so the success is there. So let's agree on that. The clock concept just works. The purchase moment is the shortcut for success and for growth. That's where you transform clients into fans, more than just users, or consumers. So when you realize that, you need to ask yourself, okay, the translation to dentistry is the first and second appointment. Purchase moment is first and second appointment, right? It means that you need to master this. What does that mean? It means that whatever you do to have the best first, second appointment in the world is worth investing time and energy, whatever it is. The funny thing is that nobody asked this question. You don't see people talking about. People take the first and second appointment for granted as practice owners, right? We say, I ask a dentist, do you have a good first appointment? Yeah, of course I have a great first appointment. Why? Why? I don't know. I say, yes, you don't know, because you're so focused on the treatment and then on the marketing that you're not focused on the magic. So my question is what it means, the gold standard of first and second appointment. How many courses you see about it? How many speakers you see talking about it? How many people are focused strictly on the experience from when? And the definition of first, second appointment, the timeline is this. Whenever somebody calls you to book that appointment, whenever somebody walks through your door, that's the beginning of the magic. That's the beginning of your purchase moment. If they're walking in by chance, if they're referred, if they saw you on social media, it doesn't matter. The story starts when they make a decision to come to you. That's when the purchase moment starts. Okay. And the purchase moment ends when they sign the check. When they say, I'm going to do this treatment and I'm going to do it with you. I hope you're enjoying the podcast, but I want to ask your permission for a little break. I want to introduce you to my 2 new courses. Optimizing Clinical Outcomes with John Coyce and myself, Christian Coachman, and Designing Smiles with me as well. On the course with John Coyce, John and I will share the newest strategies on how to become an advanced digital dentist. On the Designing Smile course with me, it's the first ever course with hands-on, sharing everything I know about how to master smile design skills. Hope to see you there.
So if you're listening, draw this graphic, because I'm drawing, Christian, do I get this? I drew a circle. I broke it up into 3 equal pieces, so you got a third, a third. The first third says marketing. The second third says magic. The third says treatment. And at that first line between marketing and magic, I have the phone call. At the next line, I've got, you said signs the check or makes the financial commitment. Am I seeing this correctly?
Yep. And then you start dentistry. Dentistry starts after that, right? The clinical dentistry, I would say, the clinical dentistry. So if you're listening and agreeing, the next obvious question is, okay, what are the pieces of the puzzle? What are the main topics that creates a perfect first and second appointment? That's the next obvious question, right? What are the things that I need to master? What are the skill sets? What are the people involved? What type of rehearsal and training that I need to have to generate a first and second appointment that is way beyond average? Actually, the challenge to you listening is, why not having the best first appointment in the world? Why not? I ask you as a dentist. Why not? Why don't you have I have a good first appointment? No. I'm not talking about good. I'm talking about the best in the world. How can you have the best? Because this is the best investment you can do to your career by far, having the best first appointment in the world. Now, the problem is here that we don't even know what means the best first appointment in the world, because we never asked that question to ourselves. We're not focused on that. It just happens. We take that moment for granted. We just do the obvious, we do what everybody does, etc. So I need you to think outside the box. I need you to be creative. I need you to put energy on this and reinvent your first and second appointment. Why? Because it's worth it. Why? Because Apple Store proved it.
Okay. So again, I'm a dentist listening to this. Christian, I'm totally picking up what you're putting down. I'm agreeing with you. You mentioned you got to figure out what the pieces to the puzzle are for this. Now, that might be a separate podcast. And just so you guys know, we will cover the marketing part of it in a separate podcast. So hold tight for that one. Give me some perspective on the pieces of the puzzle for you, for that part of the equation.
So the first thing is that when we call the first and second appointment, it's not only for new patients. It's the beginning. The interpretation of first and second appointment is the beginning of a story. It can be a patient that is with you for 10 years in hygiene, and you're bringing them back into a new approach, a new perspective, a new story, right? It can be a patient that already did a treatment with you in the past and you're reactivating them, right? It can be a new patient. It can be a referred patient. It can be a patient that is coming back from your orthodontist back to you. It doesn't matter. So it's a beginning of a story with another human being, right? And first thing you need to do is to outline the sources, right? So you have real new people, you have referred people, you have people on hygiene coming back into the story. You have people on the treatment that you're reinventing the treatment with the new tools that you have. You have people that did the treatment and you're reactivating them. So you're approaching your database with a different perspective because now you have the best first appointment in the world.
Right.
So it's worth bringing people back and saying, just go through this experience.
Love
right?
it.
And let's see how you're going to change your perception of what we do in this practice. Because what we do here in the first and second appointment, nobody in this city does, at least in this city does.
Right. That's some wonderful perspective because I went narrow focus on that and I was only thinking new. But you're right. You're inviting people in hygiene, people that are currently in treatment. You're reactivating patients,
Yep.
you know, you have displaced patients. There's a lot of reasons why people are in that phase.
And all of these things show that marketing can be important, but is not even as close as reaching out to the people that are already coming to you, already came to you in the past. And we know how underexplored practice database of patients is, right?
Right.
The gold mine is there on your computer, that list, right? Imagine that you did your homework and you reinvented your first appointment. Imagine your excitement, the excitement of your staff saying, holy cow, this is so much cooler than the old first and second appointment that we had. I wish every patient would come back to us here. Everybody that came to us in the last few years, if they could come back and experience this again, this would be amazing. So first you need to do the homework, but once you do the homework, you're going to be reactivating these patients. Zero investment on marketing, zero
Right.
on marketing, right? You're taking advantage of the people that already gave you a little bit of their trust, right?
Right.
People that already came to you for any reason.
Yeah. Another epiphany I had as you're describing this model is that piece of the pie. As a dentist, you know how this works. You feel the responsibility. It's a heavy one to deliver the treatment. Not
Yep.
a lot of other people in your practice can do that. This piece of the pie doesn't require all of you. It might require
Yes.
some of
Yes.
you, but you can orchestrate it in a way that
Yep.
it's not
Yep.
dependent on you.
Even
correct?
better.
Even better.
100%. It's the one of the key, and that's one of the key pieces of a successful first and second appointment is one of the main clinician, the owner or the main doctor uses the first and second appointment to empower the team, to empower the brand, to empower the experience as a whole, to empower the comprehensive interdisciplinary approach, to empower the associates, to empower the specialist, and position yourself as an amazing quarterback of the process that will bring so many benefits, including the fact that patients will buy the experience not expecting you to be doing everything yourself.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay. So, I mean, we could make this a 2-hour podcast as we go down this road. Now, again, just to remind everybody, listen, we're going to come back to the marketing. So we're going to cover all of these pieces of the pie. But Christian, give us any last thoughts about how do I start this process?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I love what you're saying. This model makes sense. I'm going to go back and talk to my team. Walk me through. What do I do? Where do I start?
I'm going to give you the 5 magical tools here. There's 5 magical things that you need to do to create the gold standard of first, second appointment and differentiate yourself completely and make people your fans before you even touch them in the clinical treatment. That's the key, right? So you want people saying, wow, before they pay, not after. People need to say, wow, before. And first and second appointment is where you create the wow before they choose you. That's how it works. People say wow, then they choose you, then they pay you, then you do the treatment and you create the relationship forever. Not the opposite. So I can highlight, and there may be more, and you, as I said, you need to think about your gold standard. In my opinion, there's 5 strategies that you need to focus to change and improve your first and second appointment. Number 1, enhance the non-clinical experience and human connection. Meaning, look at your practice and transform your practice, at least where the patients are moving around during the first. Actually, let me step back. First thing you want to do, you want to be able to design your practice, and this is for the ones designing new practices, your next practice, the real deal, the cool one. You need to divide your practice into purchase area and post-purchase area. The post-purchase area is the nightmare area, is where the clinical treatment will happen. Pain will be generated. It doesn't matter how good you are. People will suffer. It doesn't matter how good you are, but it needs to happen. But the more you can design your practice where the patient's path is divided in 2 separate moments. So reception, waiting room, first appointment room, discussion room, treatment presentation room. This is all the purchase area, right? So the more disconnected from the clinical area, the better. And then you need to look at this area with completely different eyes. And it's very simple. You need to do an exercise that is very simple. Try to remember the best places you've ever been in your life. Like that boutique, 6-star, amazing hotel in the countryside of Tuscany. And ask yourself what made that experience magical and why so many things that made that experience magical cannot be brought into the experience of people coming to you. Just bring the best of everywhere you've been. Spas, boutique hotels, restaurants, bars, everywhere you've been that the experience blowed your mind, you need to bring into your first appointment. So concepts of ambience, hospitality, and meaningful relationships, period. Ambience, hospitality, meaningful relationships. That's number 1, piece of the puzzle. Piece of the puzzle number 2, increase efficiency and comfort of the clinical experience, because even though first and second appointment is not a treatment yet, you do have a clinical component of it. You need to open the person's mouth. You need to do the clinical examination. You need to use technology to record, to scan x-rays, pictures, etc., right? So use smart technology to make your first appointment so comfortable, eliminating everything that patients don't like, clinically speaking. Be as elegant as possible, as delicate as possible. Invade people's privacy as little as possible. Efficient questionnaires, efficient questions, efficient examination, best technology to eliminate things that people hate about going, right? Ask your patients what they hate the most about your first appointment and eliminate this forever, and technology can help you. So that's number 2. Number 3, improve decision making. Means that a big piece of the amazing first, second appointment is actually not a big piece. The core of the first and the second appointment is building the best comprehensive treatment plan. So the dental part of the first and second appointment depends on comprehensive diagnosis and treatment planning. So you need to create a situation where you have the time, the energy, the specialists, and the communication systems to look at the patient information and make the best decisions possible when it comes to diagnosis and treatment planning before people even Pay for it. So leveraging communication systems for better comprehensive diagnosis, smile design, and treatment planning. Actually, leveraging collective intelligence. That's the key. Key number 3, leveraging collective intelligence to make better decisions. Better diagnosis, better treatment planning not only will guarantee better dentistry, but will guarantee better, higher average ticket price. And the more you invest on building a great plan, the more proud of it you will be, the more confident you will be to tell the story. Your eyes will be shining, people will feel it, and you're going to kill it. So I always use the example of, can you imagine if you could create a human being that is the mix between Steve Jobs and John Coyce, transform them into one person, and you are able to hire this person to present every treatment plan in your practice. Imagine that person. You want to become the blend between Steve Jobs and John Coyce. And if you can bring characteristics from both, it means that you are extremely involved on building the best treatment plan possible, and then moving into part number 4 of the puzzle, that is generating patient education and excitement through product explanation, through treatment plan explanation. So you need to wow your patient emotionally and visually when presenting a treatment plan. So you need to use technology to do that, but you need to use storytelling, and you need to translate your treatment plan into images. So whatever you do to transform your ideas into visual, exciting stories, that's obvious. You should invest on that. It's so obvious. It's funny. All of the things I'm saying, it's very, very obvious. But I realize that in general, we don't focus on them, right? We don't focus on them.
Right.
And the final component of the magic is to understand how to handle objection. Meaning everybody that doesn't accept your treatment at that moment for any reason, how do you reaccess them? What is your strategy to the no or to the partial no? What strategies do you have in place? What do you know about the reason that person said no, or went looking for a second opinion, or postponed the decision, or decided to do part of the treatment, not the whole treatment? How much you know about that no, how good you are reading that no, interpreting that no, and creating a strategy to reassess that no down the road. So for me, these are the 5 components of completely transforming your first and second appointment.
Love it. Now, I want you to talk about DSD. Here's one of my questions. I might have been following in DSD, and it's all a lot of wonderful technical education. But if I come to DSD, will you help me with these other pieces of the pie? That's one of my questions. We'll get to that one. But here, I want you to put any last thoughts that you have on the clock concept. Let's tie this in a little bow before we go to there.
The funny thing is that before I was introduced to the clock concept, I was teaching DSD, and we were dividing the DSD concept into 3 as well. And we were talking about marketing, we were talking about first and second appointment, and we were talking about clinical execution. That's the reason why I got so excited about the clock concept, because when I read about it, when I learned about it, I said, look, this is a huge coincidence. And by chance, we've been doing the right thing at DSD, because we would talk about marketing and we would talk about clinical execution. But since 10 years, I've been telling, the magic lays in between. When people come to you, what you do with those people is the key and will determine your success in your professional life. What do you do to people after they come to you and before you do dentistry will dictate how successful you will be as a practice owner. So I was naturally dividing the journey into 3. I call it marketing, branding, education, branding, and clinical branding. 3 different strategies to build your brand, right? And since, of course, that as a dentist, clinician, former technician, I love the execution. And I was always a lot about execution as well. And most of the things that we created with digital dentistry has a huge impact on the execution. And we would talk about execution and guided dentistry and clinical steps and workflows and processes and everything that we do on the execution. But I realized one very, very simple thing. We can only do the dentistry that we dreamed of if we can make patients dream with those results before we even do the dentistry that we dreamed of.
Brilliant. Very, very well said. That was excellent, Christian.